Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night Football. Or, well, I mean, if you're watching this Eastern Time in the North America, then it's early morning football. And if you're watching it Pacific Time, that's even earlier morning football. That might be actually be late night. No, it's not late night. Well, yeah, it might be late night football. But anyway, welcome to the show, and we're gonna do our Matchday 13 La Liga preview, but it's not really Matchday 13. In the sense that the teams that we're talking about haven't really played 13 matches. It's a lot because of COVID. There's a lot of discrepancies, and we're really only talking about three teams today, so it's not really a La Liga preview, but we are talking about Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Atletico Madrid. As it so often happens, the league certainly revolves around those two or three teams, and usually it's about Madrid and Barcelona trying to win the league and who's going to win it this year. That is, every year that's kind of what we talk about. But this year's a bit different. We're actually talking about them not winning it and them struggling in La Liga, and they are struggling. They are struggling big time, both teams. And and as the thumbnail suggests, is this Atletico Madrid's big chance to win the league? What are the issues that are plaguing the big two in La Liga? And I think we have to start. If you can start with Atletico, top of the league, 20 points from the 26 points from the opening 10 games, 8 wins, 2 draws. So they haven't lost yet in the league, and that is an incredible statistic, incredible record. They've been brilliant this season. They really have. And I know a lot of people, and they have had a few issues, a few moments of concern over the season, but they've navigated that well. And we spoke about it in our La Liga preview. We talked about the fact that maybe Simeone's tactics are sort of getting outdated. Maybe teams have kind of cottoned on to it. And that certainly would have been true, but he's changed it. He's changed it this season. He's found a role for Joao Felix as a number 10 where he can excel. I did always feel when I saw Joao Felix that he was very good as a second striker. And obviously modern football doesn't really have second strikers, doesn't really do two strikers anymore unless you're playing a back three. Teams rarely use 4-4-2, but I think playing at that number 10, you're seeing him playing as an auxiliary striker, but at the same time, he's got that creativity to unlock defenses, which I'm not sure a lot of people knew about. So he's showing that side of him, and he's been a key catalyst in this run for Atletico Madrid. I think they've also benefited from having Luis Suarez and Diego Costa to prop up that that front that attacking burden. And I mean, how funny would it be if Luis Suarez, who was deemed surplus to requirements at Barcelona, goes on and wins the La Liga with Atletico Madrid? How about that? It's happened before. David Villa, if you remember, left Barcelona in 2013, won La Liga with Atletico in 2014. So it can happen. Lightning can strike twice, but they've got players, and they've finally, I think, found a system that works. I mean, same with Kieran Trippier. Somebody talk about Atletico wingback, from Spurs, creating some waves as well. I mean, that's good to see as well as a Premier League fan. It's definitely good to see Premier League players going and making it big in in other leagues, and that's fantastic. And I think that's part and parcel of it. And they've got a big game this weekend though. It's the Madrid derby, Atletico against Real, and that's going to be a big game. That's going to be a big test for Atletico Madrid. It's actually going to be away from home, so they're going to be playing at the Bernabeu, or with the training ground that Real play at these days. They don't actually play at the Bernabeu. But that'll be an interesting test of their credentials. I think a draw would suit them. I hope they don't set up for a draw. As I always say, and I said this before as well. If you play for a draw, you generally if you don't play to win, you generally end up losing. So you don't want to be playing for a draw. And I hope they don't. They've got enough firepower, enough defensive resources, I think, to cause Madrid lots of issues. So that'll be something. And of course, they've now qualified for the knockout stages as well. Yesterday they qualified for the knockout stages of the Champions League, so they'll have that momentum, that confidence going into this game. That will be critical when they take on Madrid. But really, I mean, you're talking about Atletico Madrid. The fact is, a big part of where La Liga is right now this season is because of those two behemoths, Real Madrid and Barcelona, struggling. They're not behemoths this season. They're kind of also rans, and it's a real issue. I mean, Madrid, they played a game more than Atletico. They are on 20 points at the moment, and that's an issue. 11 games, 20 points. 3 losses already this season. Injuries have played a part, definitely, but I think it's more than injuries. I think there are serious systemic issues at the club, And I don't know whether it's a financial thing. The fact is, Real have not spent a lot of money for a while. They did spend, and the players, but that's been an issue. But they've also not been able to replace certain players, and at times they've replaced players, but they haven't really performed to that level. They haven't replaced Ronaldo yet, to be honest. I think Cristiano Ronaldo has been a major loss, and they won La Liga last season, but they won it on the back of their superior defense rather than offense. And there are issues there. I think Eden Hazard just hasn't lived up to expectations. He's basically been on the bail rather than another Ronaldo for Madrid. I think that's a real issue that they have had to contend with. They haven't been able to. Defense still very reliant on Sergio Ramos. At times, Varane shows his class, and other times you feel like what the hell is he doing out there? So they haven't found a suitable partner for Varane when Ramos is injured or not available. So that's an issue. Carvajal hasn't quite gotten back to the level that he got to when he had his three Champions League in a row. He was probably one of the best right backs in the world at that time. Now he's kind of gone off the boil. Marcelo is just old, although the gap between him and Mendy is just huge. When Mendy plays and when Marcelo plays, that's just huge, and that shouldn't happen, but that happens. Offensively, though, there are serious issues. They've got a decent midfield is for now. They've got Casemiro, they've got Cruz, they've got Modric, they've got Odegaard, they've got a few decent pieces, but as Isco looks out of favor, he doesn't look very good. I think Isco is one of those players who'll always be, remembered as someone who probably didn't fulfill his potential. I mean, yeah, he's won 4 Champions League and he's won La Ligas, but you just feel like he had more to offer than those fleeting glimpses. Marco Asensio, same thing. He's gone out the boil big time. It was supposed to be the next big thing for Madrid not too long ago, and now he's barely a squad player. He's, in the team. But it's that offensive area that is really struggling. And Vinicius isn't good enough. Asensio isn't good enough. Rodrygo, and when I say good enough, I mean they're not ready yet for that big spotlight of playing 38 games week in week out, winning those majority of those games, really going 38 rounds. They're not ready for that, and I don't think Vinicius is ready for that. I don't think Rodrygo is ready for that, and they might surprise us. They might win this weekend, but it's just long term. It just doesn't look. It just looks like there's a team that's still being built as opposed to being ready, offensively at least, and that's the issue. And Hazard, I mean, he's just out of it. I don't know. I mean, he probably came to Madrid too late. Madrid normally don't sign players, at that age, 28 years old. They normally don't sign players at that age, particularly for the amount of money that they paid for him, was just unbelievable. But it's not paid off. It's not paid off at all. I think Hazard, and even Luka Jovic, for that matter, hasn't paid off as well. So those two players will probably be first off the chopping block, on the chopping block next summer, and they'll definitely want to sell them off as soon as they can. I don't know if they'll recoup their investment, but they will have to sell them off. They probably should sell them off. The team is still heavily reliant on Karim Benzema. Again, in the Champions League, they were, again, so dependent on Benzema. He's the guy. I think he's pretty much the Modric of the attack now. What Modric was back in the mid 2010s for 2010s for Real Madrid. I think Benzema is that now in attack for Real Madrid. Like without him, the whole thing just falls apart. Him being there, it really helps in keeping everything together, knitting everything together. But without him, it just falls apart. And I think they need whatever they do, they need to keep him fit for the whole season as best as they can. They need to keep him fit because they really don't have any options beyond that. If they are going to mount any kind of title challenge this season, they're going to need to keep him fit. But those are the issues for them. But that at Real Madrid, but they'll be happy. They won against Mönchengladbach. They qualified in first spot as well for the Champions League, so they won't be too disappointed with that. And that will give them again some confidence going into the game against Atletico, which they will need to take. And hopefully they can do something. I mean, they sprung a surprise, but I was surprised when they beat Barcelona because I was expecting Barcelona to win, but they surprised us. So you never know with Real Madrid; they can always surprise you. They can probably win against Atletico Madrid, particularly because it's home. They might feel a little bit more confident, a bit more comfortable playing there and getting the result that they need, which happens. They'll probably have Ramos back as well, so they'll have a few of their key players back, and that might just make the difference in that one game. But the issue is, do they have a squad to challenge for the title? And I think that's debatable at this point. It looks debatable. You just never know with La Liga, though. You just never know with Atletico, though. They'll, I said it last season. I thought they were going to pull it off, and then they disappointed. And so with Atletico, you just don't know what you're going to get. They're very inconsistent. They've been very consistent this season in the league. By the way, they've saved the inconsistency for the Champions League, but now the Champions League is over. For now, at least till February. So will they now bring that inconsistency into La Liga? We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. But hopefully they can keep that up. Hopefully they can keep it up and secure the title this season, because it's long overdue. Long overdue. I think this will be. I said last season it was Atletico's best chance of winning the La Liga title since 2014. I think this season is an even better opportunity than last season. And if they don't, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the future because we keep saying that every year. But I think they should have kicked themselves last year for not winning it. I think they definitely are going to will kick themselves this year if they don't win it. I think Simeone should definitely be targeting La Liga this year. I think it's definitely got to be achievable. It's definitely achievable. But on that note, Madrid struggles are not as bad as Barcelona struggles. I think that's kind of it's been a kind of tit for tat, because in any other season, Koeman would have been out of a job by now. In any other season, Zidane would probably have been fired by now. That's how bad they have been. But the issue is because the other team has been bad, because Real have been bad, because Barcelona have been bad. It's kind of saved them. It's kind of made probably Madrid feel it's just one of those seasons. So Koeman has been a job. I think Koeman. I don't think Barcelona can afford to fire Koeman. I don't think they have the money to pay off his release clause. To give his severance. I think so. I think Koeman's going to be safe anyway. Because the issues at Barcelona, I think, are so systemic, so deeply rooted. There are real concerns about what's happening at Barcelona right now. I mean, not just on the field, but off the field as well. Like the real issues, and it's poor management to begin with. I thought they should have sold Messi at the start of last season. I think the thing with me is always and it's the same as I don't want to make this about Man United or whatever, but the same with Paul Pogba. If a player wants to leave, and if you can command a decent fee, you've got to let the player go. You just got to let the player go, because you'll be better off for it, by letting that player go. You'll have you can buy a player, or players in that position who want to be there. I don't think Messi wanted to be at the club. And again, I'm not saying that players aren't professional. I think players are very professional and they'll do the job. But once you don't stop caring, right, something changes in your mindset, right? It's once you stop caring, even though you're professional, even though you have that professional pride, it doesn't matter as much. And I think with Messi and Barcelona, it's just that. I think Messi's body language is one where he's a little bit sad because he's having to see this, but I think ultimately he's more, his head is probably thinking, what, I mean, if I'm somewhere else, I want to go and, I'm going to go to Manchester City or PSG or whatever next season. So I don't really care much what happens, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to look at it as when it's a sticky situation, you need players to step up, and players who care, they will step up. And players who don't care, they don't always step up, right? They're more like, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna, they'll get into the players who care, they'll get into tackles, they'll try to win those 50-50s, they'll give you that effort, and sometimes that commitment is important, and sometimes it's not. I think with Messi, I'm not saying his commitment is not there, but there's something off. There's something that in the games that are tough, that require a little bit of guts, that require a little bit of strength. I don't think he's showing that. I don't think he's showing that to the extent that he used to. And it might very well be the fact that his mind is made up and he's wanting and he's going to leave. And so, and probably Barcelona want him to leave. I mean, this person has just come out and said, what, probably would have been good if Messi left. I mean, imagine saying that about a player, right? It would have been good if he left in the summer. I mean, that's how bad it is. It's bad enough if you say that about any player, but imagine saying that about your captain, about probably your best player. Definitely your best player at the club, the player that everybody else looks up to, as a role model, as standard. You're basically saying, it would have been great if that player had left at the end of last season, right? I mean, imagine saying that, right? And then expecting that the players who expecting that player to then get up the next day and say, what, I'm going to go out and I'm going to give it my all for the club. He probably thinks, well, no, what, this guy wants me gone. That's fine. The players who look up to him, they're probably thinking, what, they don't want him here. So what does that say about him and what does that say about us, right? So it's bad comments. It's ill-timed. I mean, I know what he's saying, and it makes sense what the president said, but they were ill-timed. I mean, these are things you say in the off season. These are not things you say, in the middle of the season. But yeah, such as the state of Barcelona. I mean, the debts are insurmountable. I think there's a lot of dead wood that needs to go. They actually have some very good youngsters. I think Barcelona's youngsters, over time, if they develop right, and there's a lot that can happen, I think Barcelona's youngsters will end up being better than Madrid's youngsters. Based on the trajectory that we're seeing right now. I'm not saying that's going to happen because football is very funny. You could have a serious injury tomorrow and everything changes. But based on what I have seen so far, I feel like Barcelona's youngsters, as long as they're nurtured correctly and they get the right kind of guidance and they get the right kind of support, they will end up being better than Madrid's youngsters, all things being equal. And that's because what I've seen from Fati. Fati is an incredible talent, who could already be a starter for most clubs in world football. So, he's someone who's special. He's a special talent that they've got there. They've got Pedri, who's impressed me. I've been impressed with Push as well, Vicky Push, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. They've got Frankie De Jong, who's also very, very technical if he's playing the right system. They've got a few very good players. Trincao is someone who's very highly rated as well. They've got some very good players. It's a matter of like how do you nurture all that together? Do you bring all that together? And then the issue comes around dead weight. And I think they've got Griezmann, they've got Coutinho, who seems very one-dimensional. A lot of people talk about him with Bayern and A2. The fact is he was a substitute for Bayern. He wasn't a starter for Bayern Munich. He was a substitute. He was when Bayern didn't have Perisic, they went with I believe it was Perisic who couldn't play. I'm not sure actually, but they played Koeman, Kingsley Coman. They didn't play Coutinho. Coutinho didn't start the final. Right, so that tells you a lot about Coutinho. He's a decent player. He's a good player. He's not someone who's elite level. I know a lot of people go on about A2, but he's not anymore. At least he's not. I don't think he was ever worth 142 million pounds, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, but they've got a lot of deadwood like that. They've got those two, Griezmann and Coutinho, the first that come to mind. Dembele probably as well is someone who probably long term is not gonna he's not gonna be the Barcelona player that that they need. So they've got issues, and they've got a very aging squad as well. I mean, PK is near the end of his career. Busquets is at the tail end of his career. Messi is at the tail end of his career, though he won't finish it up at Barcelona anyway. So they've got, I think what they need is a systematic rebuild. And I think right now it feels like a holding pattern. It feels like everybody's like, let's wait for the new president. Let's see what they say. And let Koeman kind of keep the ship going. I think Koeman was signed because he was cheap. I don't think Koeman was the first choice, but I think, considering that he was Barcelona player, it's kind of like a bit like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, right? Where you got somebody who can keep the fans on side because he's a club legend, someone who's decent enough, who's not going to cost a lot of money. You're not paying him a lot. I mean, it's the same with Solskjaer. They don't pay him a lot. So it's kind of like that. Same with Lampard or Teta as well. Players these are people who are getting their first jobs, pretty much their first big jobs, and so you don't pay them as much. So it's a little bit of a gamble, but it's one where the fans are kept on side because it's a club legend. So there's a little bit of a security blanket there, where even if things go bad, there might be support. I don't know if it's worked at Barcelona. I think a lot of Barcelona fans, from what I've read and what I've seen, are not very happy with Koeman. But I think right now it's a bit of a holding pattern, and they are doing pretty bad actually. I mean, it's a bit skewed because Barcelona have played only 10 games, but they're 14 points. They're 12 points behind Atletico Madrid, same games played. They could be, if they win their game in hand, they would only be 3 points off of Madrid. So that's where the key is, because they're only 3 points off Madrid if they win their game in hand. So I think that's why there's not been a lot of issues about sacking managers and things like that. But I think more than that is the fact that they can't afford to sack Koeman right now because they just don't have the money. But it's tough. It's a tough gig. But I think from Koeman's point of view, I think Barcelona fans probably don't want this. But the best thing that he can do and that Barcelona can do is look at the season as a testing ground, as an alpha test kind of thing, where you look at the players, you kind of assess. You give the first half of the season to the established players, see what they can do, and if they're flopping, you kind of use that second half to then start introducing youngsters, which they're kind of already doing. They're already getting youngsters in the team. The Barcelona team now looks completely unrecognizable from the ones that have been playing. And so just keep getting those youngsters in, seeing who fits the bill, who doesn't, and try and, weed out the deadwood, can get them out. And then eventually, once you have a bit of money, then start looking at adding pieces in. But I think this would be the alpha test kind of situation season. Sometimes you've got to write off a couple of seasons. I think this season and next season, in an ideal world, this season and next season will be write-offs. But we know Barcelona don't stay down for long. So, and everybody thinks that, and then suddenly they come up with something brilliant and they surprise you. So maybe next season or even this season, they might surprise us. They could still surprise us, but it's the off-field instability, I think, that's causing issues for on field. But at the moment it looks tough. But they've got Levante. It should be a routine win for a Barcelona team against Levante. But you just never know with Barcelona this season. You just never know. They're only 3 points clear actually of Levante, though they have played a game less. So it's very tight at the moment at the bottom. And actually, yes, they are closer. If you look at the league table, they're actually closer to the bottom than they are to the top. So that's something. That is something for Barcelona to. It's very early days in the season. That's something to think about, isn't it? Barcelona are more likely to be relegated than win the title. I mean, points wise, but that's not going to happen. They're not going to get relegated. That's not. They're not Manchester United. But anyway, I think it's an interesting time. I think this is Atletico Madrid's best chance of winning the league title. That's what I think since 2014, and they've got to take it. They've got to go full throttle. They've got to try and get the results good. Because consistency is going to be key. As long as they're consistent, as long as Atletico can keep their eyes on the prize, they're going to win the league title. I mean, no question about it. But that's the issue. Are they going to be consistent? Are the players, accustomed to that? They have a little bit. They have a few winning mentalities in there. They've got Suarez. They've got Costa. Players who know what it's like to win league titles. For Atletico, for other teams, they know in other countries as well, in La Liga as well. So they have that little bit of experience and news. And then it's just a matter of the quality and the class players that they have around them, just nurturing them, giving them that platform, and then just doing it week in week out. That's the key. But anyway, that's my mini preview for La Liga this weekend. It's the Madrid derby. I'll be doing match reactions for that, by the way, Madrid against Atletico. I'll be doing that one, so you can, we'll talk a little bit more there. But let me know what you thought of this episode. What you think about La Liga this season and Real Madrid and Barcelona's chances and Atletico's chances. And obviously, there's also Real Sociedad who are currently second. Real Sociedad have David Silva playing for them this season. Maybe that would be a factor. Maybe that can be a factor. We haven't covered them, but we might have to start covering them as well. And I'm sure there's other teams as well. They've got Sevilla, Villarreal. There are teams there that could trouble. They're not the typical teams that you associate with winning La Liga, but it's looking very close, and that's good. That's good for La Liga. They need this competition. They've needed it badly, and they're getting it this season. That's wonderful. That's really, really, really important and really, really useful going forward. But let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about La Liga this season and about the teams. And please smash a like if you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different. We normally do a lot of Premier League stuff, but once in a while we switch gears to La Liga. We want to do more Serie A stuff as well, and maybe more Bundesliga stuff. But Serie A is very interesting as well this season, and I want to do more of that. But it's timing. There's so many leagues and so little time. But we'll try to figure something out. We'll try to do something about that as well. But thank you for watching, and please subscribe to the channel if you're new. I want to keep producing content like this, and the more we get subscribers, the more we can keep engaging, and we can keep engaging with this kind of videos, with this kind of content. We want to try more things as well for your entertainment. So your subscription, support helps us do that. So please do subscribe and keep us going on that front. So thank you so much for watching. Have a good day or night, whatever time you're watching this, and we'll be back again very, very soon. Take care. Bye bye.